Hi, Phanessa here. In this video we are going to make this quick and easy ribbed headband. So it's a twisted headband. I do have a knit twisted headband. It's a little different, but the construction is the same. So I'll leave a link for that if you're interested in it. Okay, so this is about 4 inches wide, and it's for my head, which is 21.5 circumference. The stitch used are just slip stitches, and it is very stretchy. So I used a cotton blend for this project. This is Lion Brand's twisted cotton blend. See the texture on the yarn? Reminds me of dewdrops. A pair of scissors. For this yarn here, I used a USK 6.5 millimeters. You'll need a tape measure and a tapestry needle. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with a slip knot. Hold your tail end, take your working yarn, wrap it around your fingers over your tail, insert your hook into the loop to grab the working yarn. So I'm going to chain 15. That gave me about 4 inches. So this chain stitches is going to be the width of your headband. So if I wanted to double the size and make it 8 inches, I would have to chain about 28. So I'm going to chain 15. Okay, so now we're going to work slip stitches across our chain stitches. Okay, so we're going to work into the second chain from the hook. Here is the first chain and there's the second. You're going to insert your hook through either 1 or 2 loops. That's really up to you. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop on your hook. Okay, that's 1 slip stitch. Into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop that's on your hook. Okay, so I'm going to be working 1 slip stitch in every chain stitch, and I'm going to end with 14 slip stitches. So you'll end up with 1 less stitch than you started with your chain stitch. Okay, so now we're ready for row 2. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to work through the back loops of every stitch. Okay, so this loop here is on my hook. This next loop is actually the chain 1, so don't work into that. This is going to be the first stitch that you'll work into. So we're not working into both loops like this. We're going to work through the back loop only. This is the front and this is the back. The whole pattern is just going to be slip stitches through the back. Okay, so insert your hook right into that back loop of your very first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop on your hook. Next stitch through the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the loop on your hook. So continue that all the way across. Okay, so you're just going to repeat row 2 until you're happy with the circumference size. So I worked a total of 75 rows. So just to give you an idea, each ridge here is 1 row, and my gauge for 1 inch is 3 rows. So it's one ridge and then one of these here and then another ridge. So that's 1 inch for me. So those, or it could be this one, and this one, but it's 3 rows for 1 inch for me. Another tip, when you chain one and turn, pay attention to where the stitches are. So here you can see the loop for your chain one, and then this is the very next stitch that you want to work into. Remember, we're only working through the back loops. And the reason why I say that is with slip stitches, sometimes it can be a little confusing. There seems like there's stitches on all sides. This yarn, you can't really tell, but if you're using a solid yarn, you can see several different loops. If you're a beginner, it's a little hard to tell which one is actually the right stitch that you need to work into. So just follow the loops from your hook and then your chain one, and then the very next one is where you work your stitch. So just follow those stitches and you'll be okay. Okay, so I have 75 rows, and laying it flat, it measures 17 inches. But if you give it a stretch, you should get a feel of how long it'll stretch out. So this is good for me. I have a 21.5 circumference for my head, and I wrapped this around my head and it was good. Just keep in mind when you assemble it, it's going to be slightly tighter, just because you're going to scrunch up the seam end. Okay, so when you're happy with the size or the length of your band, you're going to assemble it. Okay, so cut a long tail. I think this is about 12 inches. So go ahead, yarn over and then pull it through, all the way through, tighten that. Okay, you're going to bring the short ends together and you're going to fold each end in half like this. Okay, now you're going to place them in between each other. So basically it's hugging each other. Okay, that's how you're going to work through the ends to sew it up. At this point, your band is still reversible. So really at this point it's preference on which side you want to consider your wrong side and which side you want to be your right side. So I don't really care. I'm just going to bring my ends together here. Again, fold them in half this way and place them together. Since I'm using my tail end to sew this together, I like to make sure that the tail end part is on the outside. So I'm just going to insert my needle right through the last stitch right there, and then I'm going to want to make sure that I go through this layer and finally the last layer of this side, and then this last layer from this side. I'm going to pull that through. And then I'm going to weave it back, going into the next stitch, and then the next stitch on the next layer, next stitch on the next layer, and then the last stitch on this first layer next to me. Pull it through, and you're just going to repeat that, going through all 4 layers back and forth until you reach the end. If you want, you can also count your stitches. So you have 14 stitches divided by 4. That's roughly 4 stitches with a couple of extra left. So you just want to make sure that they're even or sort of even. I wouldn't be too worried about it. If you are, you can go ahead and count your stitches. Okay, so I'm going to secure this by weaving it back and forth a little bit more. I'm not too worried about going through all 4 layers at this point. I just want to make sure that it is secure. Okay, so now I'm just going to run my needle one more time, wrap it around my needle there, and then you can weave in your ends. I'm just going to cut this. Okay, don't forget to weave in your beginning tail. I probably should have weaved that in first. Okay, so where you seamed, it's going to be your wrong side, so you want to flip it over, and this is going to be your right side. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos. I'll see you next time.